but I will just cover it again. See, on one level, we are all made up of what? Blood and bones and muscles and whatever, right? But on another level, and we've learned this in school, everything is atoms. So we are also atoms. I mean, the table you're sitting on, the chair you're sitting on, the table around you, the buildings, everything is atoms. Okay. So, yes, we are our body, but this body is also made up of atoms. Okay. And groups of atoms, they vibrate at different speeds. These speeds are called frequencies. Okay. This universe consists of, millions and millions of frequencies. And Healy and Mag Healy have tapped into them via various means. And we have a lot of positive energy flowing through the programs and vibrations from Healy and Mag Healy. Okay. Now, how do we really get these frequencies? See, when we eat food or we eat medicine, like say we eat some rice or whatever, I mean, anything, right? So rice granules are not going to our cells, right? What really goes is the frequency that is assimilated from the rice. Who does the digestion? It's the small intestine that does it actually. The absorption is done through the small intestine. But, in the long run, as we grow older, or also because of disease issues, the absorption levels go down. And that is why you see a lot of people, even if, with age, even if they're eating healthily, they have a lot of health issues and they become weak. What frequency medicine does, our Healy and Maghili does, is gives us these frequencies directly, and the body assimilates them. And this is the magic of Healy. Next slide, please. So the two pillars, Healy, Mag Healy. Healy is for individuals, Mag Healy is for a room full of people or for a group of people, both work like magic. And I recommend that each one of us should have both of them because they do different things. And, together, I think they become even more powerful. Okay, next, please. So last time I'd gone into details, when I did the session on gut health, I had gone into details about how our body, is not just the physical body, but also the aura and what the aura comprises of and everything. I won't go into all that detail again this time, but what I'll focus on is the mind. So the mind actually is the root of the cosmos. The whole universe is created by mind. Whose mind? Everybody's mind. Everything's mind. Okay, let's continue and we'll see how we get affected by the mind. So differences between people generally think, that the brain is the mind, but no, it's not. The brain is an organ in the body, in the physical body. But the mind is something which is much more. Brain as an organ is associated with the mind, but the mind is not confined to the brain. It's much, much more. So the brain is visible, but the mind is actually invisible. It's part of our aura, and it's also, stored in parts of our body as well. So the brain is inside the skull, while, as I said, the mind is the aura mainly. However, as we go on, I'll tell you how it is also stored in parts of our body. The left brain is logical, the right brain is creative. Okay. We have three main parts of the brain, but I won't go into all those details because we don't really need to know that at this stage. But what we need to know is that the brain basically sends and receives messages from our organs and the rest of the body via our nervous system, via the nerves. Okay. What is the mind? The mind basically consists of three aspects. Intellect, that means the judgment. That is, when I'm speaking now, your mind is going, yes, yes, no, no. That is the judgment. Okay, that's your intellect at work. The memory, we have short-term memory, long-term memory. But a lot of memory is actually stored in muscles. Do you know that? And when you go for a nice long physical massage, sometimes very old memories come up. And that's because those memories are touched when the muscles are being massaged. Okay. And then the mind also consists of the ego. What is the ego? It is that something in the mind which makes us feel superior or inferior. It's both. Okay. It doesn't let us be ourselves. It actually makes us feel superior and makes us feel inferior. And it also makes us feel miserable. The misery is created by the ego. Mind consists of the conscious mind, which is basically just 2% of the mind, okay? 98% of the mind is the subconscious. Now, I give lectures on the power of mind and how to manifest goals and things like that. And I go into much more detail about the mind in those lectures. But for this session, I think this much is enough. But I will go a little bit deeper about how we think and what we do and all that. But one thing which is very important for us to know is that the mind clings to the negative. If you get 10 compliments, you're wearing a wonderful outfit, okay? And everybody at work says, wow, you look really good today. Okay, so you have 10 compliments, and then one person says, you know what, this color really doesn't suit you. What will you remember? You will remember the negative. Because the tendency of the mind is to cling to the negative. You see, positivity needs effort. The mind is naturally negative. So to be positive, you have to make an effort. Now, when you know this, when you know that your mind is naturally negative, it has a tendency to cling to the negative, then you need to make an effort to make positive. Okay, why? And we'll go on to see why. Go ahead, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Well, the mind oscillates between the past and the future, right? Anytime, if you see, you're eating, right? If you're eating food, okay, what's going on actually? The food is lovely, it's tasty, and you're enjoying it. But often your mind is shifting, okay? It's not focused on the food. You're thinking about what is next, or you're thinking of the past. So your mind is generally clinging to the past or the future. And in the past, you have different emotions. You have anger, you have regret, you have hatred, you have jealousy, and many more probably. And in the future, the primary emotions you feel when you are thinking of the future is fear, worry, anxiety, tension. See, how many times do we sit and think how wonderful my life is? How every little thing is joyful? How every little thing can give me a peace of mind, can make me happy? No, it's very less that we think such things. We are usually in the past or we are in the future. But I say, let's bring the mind to the present moment and chill. And how do you get the mind to the present moment? Well, as I snap my fingers, as I snap my fingers, and you can hear the snapping of my fingers, right? This moment is gone. Look, this moment is gone. Look, this moment is gone. Moments are fleeting. But the present moment is always new. It's always new. And that is why it's very, very important to be evolved in the present moment and chill. Because in this moment, you don't feel all these horrible emotions. You just feel fine. You may not feel extremely happy or extremely joyful or extremely sad or extremely negative or positive or whatever, but you are fine. And that is what is important. You need to chill. So be in the present moment. How can you be in the present moment? With different ways, of course. Via Healy, coherence. The program Coherence brings you to the present moment. It's available even in Mag Healy and also in Healy. Okay, next slide, please. Thoughts become things. In today's age, with the secret and of attraction and, all the things that are going on social media about manifestation and everything, I think most of you know this, that thoughts become things. But I want to warn you, be careful of what you ask for, because you just might get it. You get the good things and you get the bad things too. So be careful. Next, please. So I'll tell you a little about an experiment that a very favorite, scientist of mine who's a Japanese called Masaru Emoto did. He proved that thoughts become things. So what he did was he cooked a lot of rice, steamed a lot of rice, okay, boiled it and put it in 3 bottles. And one bottle he titled love. The second bottle he titled hate. And the third bottle he didn't title. He just left it blank, really. Okay. And then he placed it in 3 corners of his home. So every morning he went to the corner where the love bottle was, the bottle titled love was. And he told the rice, he said, I really love you. With a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion. He said, I love you. You look so beautiful. And whatever, when you're in love, how do you express it? So like that, okay? And then he went to the next corner of his house where he had the bottle with the hate written on it. And then he said, I really hate you, with a lot of anger and a lot of, emotion. And he expressed hatred to that bottle. And then he ignored the bottle with no label. He just ignored it. 3 weeks later, the bottles looked like this. The one with title love still looked fresh. The one titled hate had rotted. And the one that was titled nothing and he had ignored, okay, was rotting. What does this tell you? Thoughts become things. Next, please. Next slide, please. So what manifests, right? You see, the universe does not judge. It does not decide this thought is good, that thought is bad. Let me, manifest the good thought and not the bad thought. No, it just manifests for us on the basis of our thoughts. Whether they're conscious thoughts or whether they're coming from our subconscious, fine. It manifests on the basis of our belief systems. If you have a belief that if you put your finger in the fire, okay, you will get burnt. So, and that actually happens. Do you know that hypnotism is used a lot to heal people? And hypnotists have shown by hypnotizing people and telling them that their finger is in the fire when it is not really in the fire, and the finger has developed a blister. These are facts of life. So our belief systems are very, very important. Our memories and our impressions. What are memories? Memories could be from this birth, from previous birth, our impressions from previous births. I mean, look, there are some people who still don't believe in, life after death again, to be born again, or reincarnation, as they say it. But there are scientists in the world who are measuring these things. And more than 20,000 cases have been recorded and documented, not just in India, but also in other countries, in the West, in Australia, and so many more other places, Thoughts of others around you. You see, you're affected by everybody around you too. Blessings and curses that you get from everyone do affect you. The blessings give you better lives and curses give you more difficulties. But remember one thing, the more subtle the thought, the faster it manifests. You see, sometimes we say we have an intention, I want to do this, and I think this is what is going to happen. And then comes the doubt. And what do we say? Oh, will this really happen? What if it doesn't? And then you forget about it and you just move on. You're still focused on what you want to happen. But remember that doubt was subtle, and invariably it will manifest. The other thing is, the fewer the thoughts, the faster they manifest. So it's very important to be in the present moment. Why? Because then your manifestations are better. So use Healy coherence, use coherence in Mag Healy to keep yourself in the present moment. Next, please. Remember, we are interlinked, interdependent, and totally and compulsively entangled. You may not want to be interdependent. You may not want to be entangled. You may not want to be interlinked, but that is a fact of life. You see, just like the fish float in the sea, we are floating in this ocean of consciousness. What I breathe in is what you breathe out, and vice versa. Everything you do, how you behave, how you think and feel affects everything and everybody, directly and indirectly. And the same with what you receive from everyone. So you have to remember that you are interlinked, interdependent, and entangled. And this is something that, when you know, your attitude to life changes. And when your attitude to life changes, you can manifest better. Next, the butterfly effect. Okay, what is the butterfly effect? Do you know that the flapping of these giant butterflies, which are in Brazil, the flapping of their wings can actually set off a tornado in Texas or a typhoon in China? This has been scientifically measured. So remember that even butterflies can create calamities, natural calamities. So every person together with other persons can affect the whole organization, the whole family, the whole home, the environment, the city, the state, the country, the world. I think we're experiencing a lot of this right now with what is happening with all the wars in the world, right? So all of us are affected. I mean, India may not be at war, but we are affected, aren't we? Travel is affected, fuel is affected, worry is there, so many things. Next slide, please. So we have so many questions, right? Who am I? This is a spiritual question. Dwell on it. It's a very good question to have. What am I? A lot more than what we really think. What is consciousness? Everything. The somethingness and the nothingness. But what is the bottom line? The bottom line is everything in this universe is nothing but energy. And this is the most important aspect of our presentation, that everything is energy. Next slide, please. So everything is energy, but what is energy? Energy is atoms. And what are atoms made up of? All the science students know this for sure, but we learned this in school, so I'm sure many of us know this. Atoms are protons. They have protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are positive energy, neutrons are neutral energy, and electrons are negative energy. Now, there is something called a nucleus, which is the center of the atom. Who sits there? The positive protons and the neutral neutrons. Energy is stored in the center of the atom. Okay? But if you see this diagram, you will see that the electrons are orbiting the atom. They are orbiting the center. Okay? In life also, the same thing happens. Okay? We are centered when nothing bad happens. And the minute some negative thing happens, what happens? We go off center. We are off center and then we are subject to negativity. So thoughts, remember, are also impulses of energy. So nothing but atoms again. Okay. Next. What are the sources of energy, right? Food and sleep. Food, quantity and quality, I would say. Quantity wise, I mean, if you eat less food, you feel weak. You don't feel strong. If you eat too much food, you feel tired. It's very important to have the right quantity of food that you can digest. Okay. What is the right quantity of food? Well, it is filling up your tummy up to 65% only and not more, not 100%, 65% only. Okay. Why? Because the method of digestion of the stomach and all the organs in the body have a rhythm. And the rhythm of the stomach is in and out, in and out. And if your stomach is full, that rhythm cannot happen. And then what happens? Everything gets converted to fat. And you don't really get the nutrients of that food. Sleep. If you sleep too much, you feel lazy and tired and you procrastinate and don't want to do anything. If you sleep too little, you are tense and you still feel tired too. So even sleep is good, just the right quantity is necessary. What is the right quantity? Well, it's different for different people. Those people who have very high energies can survive with 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Saints survive with even 2 hours of sleep. But generally, for the rest of us, I think we need at least 7 hours of sleep. Good sleep, that is. I'm talking about dreamless, good, deep sleep. The company of everyone, people affects us. The thoughts of people also affects us. Our thoughts also affect us. When we are thinking negative, we feel low. Okay. When people are coming to us and talking and gossiping and grumbling and complaining, what happens to our energy? We feel low. Our energy drops. It may not be something that is about yourself. They may be talking about themselves, something that affects themselves, but it affects you because negative thoughts affect you. But have you ever noticed that when you walk into a room, where people are enjoying themselves, you feel good? Or if you are in a room where somebody walks in with a lot of positive energy, the whole energy of the room changes. Everybody feels better. Similarly, when you walk into a room where a fight has taken place, you can actually feel the anger vibrations. You can feel lower energies, So it's very important, to maintain the right company. Planets and stars. Have you noticed how the moon, that affects the tides of the seas and the rivers and the oceans? What are our bodies made up of? Our physical body is made up of 70 to 80% water, right? Do you think the planets and stars don't affect us? Of course, they affect us. And that is why people are so keen on astrology. But here I want to warn you. Astrology is a science, but astrologers are not necessarily scientists. So be careful on this. But know that planets and stars do affect us. Electromagnetic waves affect us. Healy affects us positively. But an electronic tower of, a network for a telecom company, for example, or heavy tension electrical wires, which are there in certain areas, have been known to create disease. A long time ago, a very eminent actress had filed a suit, because her brother got cancer because of these electronic towers. The environment and geopathy also affects us. What is the environment? If you live in a country where a war is going on, how would you feel? Tense, worried, you know, scared, yeah, fearful, dreadful. So the environment affects us. Geopathy is about the land. I want to tell you a story here. Okay, geopathy is also about the Vastu. What is Vastu? See, Vastu is nothing but the science of architecture, keeping in mind the forces of nature. So, the forces of nature have got wind, which is air, and fire, okay, and earth element, and so many more, right? So Vastu keeps all this in mind and you design a house like that. For example, the southeast area of a home is generally the hottest in the mid-afternoon, like around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, okay, in the morning, when we go to cook food for lunch. And that is why it should be the kitchen, okay? And so there are different ways in which Vastu works, okay? But do you know that if you sleep, when you live in the northern hemisphere of the world, and we all live in the northern hemisphere of the world, right? So we are affected by the North Pole. For example, South America or Australia lives in the southern hemisphere of the world. So they are affected by the South Pole. Both these poles are electromagnetic points. Okay. So in the northern hemisphere of the world where we live in, the North Pole affects us. Now, if you sleep with your head towards the north side, it is very often that people get hypertension problems, blood pressure related problems. It's because of the pull of the North Pole. So geopathy is very, very good, and Healy can help us tremendously on this, to understand where the negative energy is coming from. And I will explain one more case. There is this guy. See, my Gurudev, my mentor, is Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji, who does a lot of work on conflict resolution. And most of this work is silent work, and people don't even know. I mean, there was a war in Colombia, which was going on for, more than 50 years, which he tackled and stopped. And, the president of Colombia got a Nobel Peace Award, for it. So he does a lot of things. So he used to work in Kashmir too. I mean, his people, okay, the Art of Living people used to work in Kashmir too with terrorists. And this was one particular guy who I know from the Art of Living who did a lot of work in Kashmir when terrorism was very, very high. And he was very ill at one point in time. And I used the Heal Advisor and Analyze app to analyze his health. And you know what came out? Geopathy. Very strongly geopathy. He was affected by the land he was working in. He was affected by the energy of the land because it had become so negative. Okay, to move on, meditation and knowledge. Now, when you do this properly, knowledge here I mean is good knowledge. Okay, this gives the only thing that gives us only positive energy. The rest of all these things, sources of energy, can give us positive or negative energy. Now, it's very important for us to notice what we eat, how we sleep, the company we have, the planets and stars and what is going on. The fact that we shouldn't be next to radiation. Don't keep your phone in the bedroom when you're sleeping. Don't be near your phone when it is charging. The environment, the geopathy, and everything. Okay. But how does Healy tackle all this? We'll move on just in a bit. Next slide, please. So just before we go to that, let me do a little session on negative energy. See, negative intentions are called different things all over the world. Some say buri nazar, evil eye, black tantra, left tantra, black magic, voodoo, okay, juju, and so many more things, right? Traditional methods used to remove negative energy are salt, nimbu, chilies, peacock feathers, kajal dots, and so many more. I don't want to comment on any of this, right? I want to go straight to Healy and Magili and how we can work with it. So let's move to the next slide. Remember, energy cannot be created and cannot be destroyed. We learned this in science, but energy can be transformed. So transform negative energy to positive energy scientifically with Healy and McHealy. Additionally, you can even check with Healy whether there is any negative energy that is affecting you through the Heal Advisor scans, which or analysis. I call them scans because I think they're scans more than an analysis, but the technical word is analysis for it. Okay. And how do we do all that? Next slide. You have a program group called Bioenergetic Defense in Healy 2 app. The first thing I would recommend is go to Heal Advisor Analyze app and analyze this program group for yourself. And you can get any of these or none of these 8 programs showing in your analysis. Okay. Now, what shows are the top 5 options generally. Okay. If none of them are above 45 to 50%, you don't need to worry about it. But if they are above 45%, then yeah, there is a hint of negative energy. If it's above 50%, there is negative energy affecting you. How can it affect you? If the program mental shows up, then you need to use Healy to get clarity of thinking and decision making. Okay. If sleeping shows up, that means you have fearful dreams or you have fear when waking up. During COVID times, a lot of people used to call me and talk to me about this because I do a lot of mentoring and counseling too. Everything is part of the seva that I do, of course. Okay. And people would tell me, I wake up at 5 in the morning, but I have so much fear. This was during the COVID times. I have so much fear. And it was so common because I used to get almost 10 to 15 calls a day from different people telling me the same things. So, a certain situation which is affecting the whole world can also affect you. And this fear and everything can come from any of these things, right? Food or sleep. It can come from planets or stars. It can come from your thoughts and the company that you keep. It can come from anything, the sources of energy that we discussed. Okay. When subtle shows up in your scan, okay, that means there are obstacles in your path. That means whatever you want is not happening. In fact, there are obstacles. You're struggling to make it happen. Okay. When cell harmony shows up in your scan, it means the cellular level issues from repeated and high negative energy has affected you. It has affected you at a cellular level. So then you can use the cell harmony program to get rid of it. When general protection appears, it means somewhere you are having a repeated bout of negative energy coming to you. From where? It could be from planets, from the food you eat, the sleep you have, from the company you keep, from your own thoughts, or from the thoughts of others, or whatever, whichever the source of energy is, right? But what does Healy do? It creates a protective layer, what we call kavach. A lot of people recite mantras, and mantras or even prayers in all religions, they also chant different prayers also to say, to create a protective light around you, an energy layer around you. And I think general protection actually does that. Okay. Now, planets, okay. Planets are the astrological effects that you're suffering from. And that could also be tackled with the planets program. Geopathy, Vastu related, or certain environmental issues, or you're sleeping in the wrong room. For example, an old person sleeping in the southeast room of the house. A southeast is a fire energy, right? An older person cannot handle that fire energy, needs a cooler energy. But a young person needs a fire in the belly to work, to move about and do things. Okay. So a young person is better in the fire energy room. So when geopathy comes, you need to look at where you're sleeping. Is your head towards the north? Okay. Are you sleeping in the right room? Is your house Vastu compliant? Okay. But nevertheless, even if it isn't, Healy can help you with it. And that's the beauty of Healy. Electrosensitivity. Oh, we are all exposed to this with our phones, with our TVs, with our laptops, with the Wi-Fi. I mean, I can't even sleep with the Wi-Fi on. I have to switch it off every night. And I hope the rest of you are doing this too. Okay. The radiation from, the towers around you, the high tension, even electrical cables, you know, we're all exposed to electrosensitivity. All these 3Gs, 4Gs, 5Gs, and God knows what more Gs are coming are not really very conducive from the health point of view, right? But thank God we've got Healy because that can be tackled. Now, while we're talking about this, I want to give you a few examples of what I have gone through in the sense mental. You know, I had a patient from a very, very poor family, who had a son. This lady had a son from a Goan Christian family, and he was like schizophrenic according to the doctors, but he was 29 years old and he became schizophrenic when he was about 26, 27 years old, and for 2 or 3 years he was in a very bad shape. And he would just he was heavily drugged for schizophrenia, and he would just sit around doing nothing, and just he would switch on the TV, but he's not actually observing what's on the TV. Okay. And this lady asked me to help him if possible. And so I spoke to him, and I asked him, how are you? And he just looked at me and I said, what's your name? And he just continued looking at me, and he wouldn't really answer. But when his mom prompted him to answer, then he said, yeah, fine. And my name, and he told me his name. Okay. But I couldn't actually pinpoint on what was wrong with him. So I asked him whether I could do an analysis using Healy and the Heal Advisor Analyze app. And they agreed. And you know what came out? Mental came about. Mental. And you know how much it was? 84%. Now, I've seen a lot of people who think a lot also having this mental thing come up. But, it's around 50% or 60% at the most or whatever, So but when I saw 84%, I knew there was something seriously wrong here. And it wasn't really schizophrenic, but he was affected by some forces that had come from outside. So I began to ask a few questions about him. And then I realized that he was a junior chef in a restaurant abroad, in Africa somewhere. And he was very, very successful. He would make this wonderful Goan food, and a lot of people were visiting the restaurant, for that food. And the owner of the restaurant decided that this fellow is bringing in a lot of money with his food, so we need to retain him, and offered his daughters hand in marriage to him. And this boy wanted to come home and marry some Indian girl, right? He didn't want to marry somebody over there. So he said no. And then I don't know what they did. And I don't want to presume, and I don't want you to presume. But the next thing you know is his mind got affected, and he became like this, where he wouldn't speak and he was like a vegetable, His mind was like a vegetable. And they had to literally go and bring him back home. So then I was sure that it was mental. So, and in those days, they couldn't afford. So I just took my Healy and I gave it to him. And I told his mom, I said, I explained how to use it. I said, just give him mental, just this program thrice a day, and it can help him. I think it's going to help him. But it might take a while, it might take like 3 months or something. So try it. And she said, fine. 3 weeks later, I get a call. And this person is like in high energy. He says, hi, madam, I need to meet you. I really need to meet you. And I said, oh, who's this? Because I didn't recognize the number. Who's this speaking? And he gave me his name, and I realized it's the same boy. I said, oh, so I was wondering what's up. I mean, he sounds really good. And so I said, is your mother around? And he said, yeah. I said, could you give me your mother to speak? And he said, yeah. And his mother came on the line, and I said, is he okay? She said, ma'am, you're an angel. My son is much better. He's incredibly much better. And it's only 3 weeks, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, I really need to see him. Why don't you guys come over? And they came over, and he was completely fine. But, it was me saying, look, I think you still need to use it. So keep it for another couple of months and then give it to me. But, he looks really good to me. And she said, yeah, you're an angel. I said, no, I'm not the angel. Healy is the angel. Healy has helped him. And then we put him off the drugs. And today he's working again. Of course, his mom's not letting him out of her sight, So he's working in Goa only. And that's where I stay. And he's working in Goa and he's completely healthy. Another example I'm going to give you is about myself. Whenever I have a planetary problem, it's amazing how this happens, right? But on my right side, because I'm a right-hander, so my doership is on my right side, right? So on my right side, I get aches and pains on my limbs, like on my leg or my arm or my hand or my shoulder. On my right side, I develop aches and pains. And now I've realized that the minute I put on the planet's program, miraculously, that pain goes away. So thrice in a row, and I usually use it at night, just before I sleep. I just put it on, and I do it 3 nights in a row, and I've completely recovered. It's gone. So it's so important for you to know, right, whether there is any negative energy affecting you, and then defend yourself with Healy. So run your scan with Heal Advisor Analyze. And then according to what results you get, use the program in Healy 2 app to heal yourself. Next slide, please. Mag Healy also helps. Now in Mag Healy, there are several programs that can help. Okay, I've listed them down, but I'll go over them quickly. There's a program in atmospheric programs called Energy Clearing. I suggest you put it on for at least 1 hour every day. Why? Because you never know when energy can affect your home and yourself. You don't want to sit and scan yourself every day. And you don't even know whether your home is affected by it or whatever. So just do an energy clearing, run the program for an hour daily, and it works. I do that. Electrosensitivity. If electrosensitivity has come up in your scan, then better to use Mag Healy than Healy to get rid of it. Because Mag Healy will sensitize your entire home with electrosensitivity problems, will clear it for you. So I would suggest Mag Healy because it's just not you, it could be other people in your home also affected. So if electrosensitivity has come up, use Mag Healy. Sleep, yeah, if sleep has come up and you'd rather use Mag Healy, then Mag Healy sleep program also works very well. Energy is low, you can use energy. Coherence, please use it. Please use it for every meeting that you do. You're in the present moment. Your brain is working perfectly when you are running coherence. Your mind is in this moment and can listen. Hearing and listening, they're two different things, right? So you can actually hear things, but you don't always listen to it carefully. But with coherence, you listen to everything that's said. So then you can perform better. And if you're having negative issues with abundance, creating abundance of wealth in your life, use prosperity. Works like magic. I can do a whole session on prosperity one day where we can discuss, how you can bring abundance in your life with prosperity. Okay. The program Prosperity, that is from Mag Healy. In classic programs, cell harmony, vitality, tiredness, sleep, energy circulation, beautiful programs to use. Classic programs are generally used on the body in the sense that you have to keep the Mag Healy, on a specific part of your body. Usually it's your belly, okay, on top of your belly. But Mag Healy actually tells you where to keep it. So accordingly, according to what comes up when you ask for that program to be transmitted to your Mag Healy, that's when you know where to keep your Mag Healy. Okay. Water activation programs is very good to charge your water. Now, atmospheric programs, I recommend intensity 100. Classic programs, I recommend intensity 70 to 100. Depends on what you feel comfortable with when you're actually using it. Water activation programs, I recommend intensity 70 and use it for only 10 minutes. Atmospheric programs, you can use it all day, all night, whatever. Just don't forget, Mag Healy is a machine. So give it at least 1 hour's rest. Put it off the electric as well, off the charger, everything, so that it can rest. Okay. Other than that, you can use it the whole day, all these programs the whole day. Classic programs have programs with limited duration. So they will run for that duration, say 36 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever. Water activation programs, use it for just 10 minutes. Keep your Mag Healy on top of your jug of water or your bottle of water, okay? And charge it for just 10 minutes at intensity 70 is what I recommend. Which programs can you use? Cell harmony, energy circulation, mental clarity, energy, water coherence as well. Okay, next slide, please. Now, let's go back to the Heal Advisor Analyze app, right? So when you do a scan of the analysis, that is, of the bioenergetic defense program group, what you can do is in the same app, you can vibrate this scan to you, right? I recommend vibrating it for 27 minutes once daily. I know a lot of us use these vibrations for just 1 minute or less, or a few seconds, or 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, whatever. I don't recommend all that. I've tried it all. I've gone through a lot of experimenting with this vibration. And this vibrating is very, very powerful. Okay, it's extremely, extremely powerful. And I recommend 27 minutes for the scan to be vibrated once daily. Now, aura. You can run your aura scan, okay, and then you can vibrate it for 27 minutes morning and evening. I recommend twice a day for aura. Now, what does aura do? I will do a session on chakras and aura, and I can guide you at that time on how, aura works and go into details with that. But aura is absolutely brilliant. So just to give you a hint, right? I have this friend, who's been having problems with her mother, actually, since the time she was born, is what she said. Okay. And I give you an example of how powerful this aura is in Healy, right? And this lady was been talking to me off and on over the years, telling me about her problems with her mom and whatever. And one day she happened to get cancer of the colon. And she called me and she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you've got Healy and you can get healed. So it's the first stage and you can get healed. So she said, well, let's meet and tell me how to do it. So, of course, she was looking at different other treatments and as well as whatever. But, I mean, I'm not going to discount any kind of treatment. I'm only focused on Healy right now, right? Healy and McGeely. So I went to meet her and I did her aura scan. And guess what? Aura shows up. It says the client has a problem with the mother. How uncanny is that? This is the power of Healy and McHealy. Of course, I didn't go on to details with that, but I just spoke to her husband and I said, look, just run this particular scan. Don't change the aura scan. Don't do it every day. Okay. Just this particular thing, because this is the one thing which has affected her. So just run this scan every day, morning and evening for the next 1 month. And then we'll see. She's cured. She's much better. She is completely fine now. And guess what? Her relationship with her mother has improved. Power of Healy, Meg Healy. That is why I find it magical. And that is why I love giving these sessions. I think I'm at the end of my presentation. Do we have any more slides? I don't think so, right? Ram? Ram, yeah. So thank you.
This
I'm
is
at
the
the end of
last
my
slide, ma'am.
presentation. You guys have questions or something? Maybe it's best rather than typing to speak them out so that I
It
can
is better
attempt
if
to
we can
answer
have.
them.
It is better if we can have the typed questions, or definitely like
Sorry.
this is an ongoing session which we are doing. So any question that you have, Nitalji, can you please type in your query if you have any? So what we can do is we can definitely get back. If the question comes to me, definitely that is going to get answered in the next session that we can do. So yes, there are a lot of compliments. Please arrange a session on prosperity. Yes, of course, we will definitely love to have it. I know each one of us need it. So yes, we can. Right. Okay, the Mostly is requesting for the session to be done soon. Yes, we will do it once in a month. What we are looking forward, maybe we can look into a bi-monthly also. But yes, of course, we need to see the availability of ma'am's time. Uh, okay, Avril. A lot of everything which I can see is all compliments, ma'am.
Oh, how lovely. I would love to go through them.
Sure, sure.
I hope they don't inflate my
The
ego,
recordings,
though.
yes, will be shared. The recordings will be shared through the leaders, and it won't go on any of our social medias. But yes, through WhatsApp channel, you can have it. Like we can send it to the director and up, and you can take it from there. So if somebody is missing, please get in touch with me. I can give you. So if it is
Ram,
a lifelong, actually one question, ma'am, is there that I can maybe we can take it. If it is lifelong usage, how long to use and what's the so cost? Please don't get into the cost because you need to get to your to the person who has recommended you. So please get into the cost because in Healy it's only one time cost that you incur. Okay. So lifelong usage and how long to use is that. This is one good question.
I didn't actually understand the
So
question, but
the
if you're
question
asking
is,
whether you should use it every
is
day for
it?
the rest of your lives, yeah, please use.
Yes, that is what. That is what. How long Healy can be used?
Yeah, use it for, I think every individual on this planet needs to have a Healy, okay?
Right, right.
I
So,
truly believe, I truly believe that every home needs to have a Mag Healy, okay?
right,
And
right,
I think, times change, right? People change, okay? Situations change, circumstances change, countries change, energies change. So it's not just for disease, right? It's also to stay healthier and not have disease, right? So much more important is the preventive, isn't it?
right,
Of course, when you have a disease, you use it, of course, but the preventive is even more important, is what I feel, right?
right,
So I
right.
think it's very important for us to use Healy regularly. I mean, you will see me with Healy on my collar, all the time. I mean, let me show you. See, even when I'm doing the session, it's there on my collar.
Yes,
I use
yes.
it all the time. Now, why do I use it all the time? Because I keep taking programs, in sometimes I take programs because I want to heal a certain thing which I think is affected or whatever, or
Right,
sometimes I take programs because I'm experimenting and learning. I'm a learner, and I love to learn, and I love to study and love to get new knowledge. And Healy helps me understand a lot of things. And once I understand it, I can recommend it for all the health seva that I do. And, I can do better seva with it. So, yeah, I mean, I think everyone should use it. I mean,
really,
no
really.
conjuicy with Healy, please.
So you don't have a limited access, you have unlimited access.
Yeah,
So no
I
point
use
of
it all the
limiting.
time, is what I feel. Yeah.
So, ma'am, what I understand is basically this concept has to be very clear that what we are talking about is harmonizing the energies, and this is truth that our energies are not static. Okay, so we have to understand that it is fragile and it can be influenced by energies around us. And you cannot control the energies around you. If you're working in a stressful office, you cannot change that office stress. Like you cannot do. What you can do is you can do for yourself. Okay, so if you are worried about that, there would be a prick in your leg if you move out without a shoe or a slipper, then it is good. You cannot like avoid those nails and all the things on the road, but you can wear a slipper or a shoe to protect yourself. Healy is exactly the same support that actually supports in harmonizing those disturbances, those challenges, those influences. And ma'am has beautifully explained it, and she had actually taken it to the next level also when she is talking about all the aspects very clearly, indicating how you can get the support. And the best part is not only Healy, but Mag Healy is also indicated. So we are definitely like, thank you very much, ma'am, for giving such beautiful insight. And the most beautiful part is all these experiences are her own personal experiences, the interactions which she had for the last couple of years, and this is what is the culmination of it. And I'm really like delighted to see all those and hear all those real life experiences which Sunila ma'am is sharing with each one of us. So I think yes, this is all for the day today. We will be very soon. We will be back. Yes, I got a request for aura session that is noted. Right. So all the session that you need, you feel that we should have it. Definitely will incorporate it. Apart from this, we have also a few more information that I want to share with you. That yes, we are going to have a success coach module training also done this month. We will have one beautiful session done by a spiritual guru. Okay. And we are going to have it on a very scientific note. That the topic itself is a very, I would say, it's a beautiful topic. It talks about spirituality and science. And that is what we are going to talk about. And we'll hear it from one of the best Reiki healers who is available with us. And yes, we'll be hearing him, I think, on 17th. So please note the date. On 17th, we are going to have one more big session, right? So I think this is all, ma'am. Thank you very much. And I tell you, we have tons of compliments pouring in the chat. I'm going to send you all the chats out just after this. I'll download the entire chat and I'll send it to you.
Okay, that's brilliant. I would love to see what people say. I need your feedback, guys. This is my second session on Healy, and I really would love to get your feedback so we can improve it.
Yes,
Wherever it's lacking, especially if you can tell me, I can work to improve it. So
sure.
I'd be happy to get your honest feedback. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you very much, Hilly family, for being here together. I'll be sending you specifically all the directors and up the recording of this session. And yes, if you have any specific request, you all can reach out to me. And yes, we can process the request in the subsequent months. So thank you very much for connecting and being together. Thank you, Sunila ma'am,
Thank
for
you.
sparing such insightful knowledge and insight. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am, and
everyone,
good
for
day to you.
attending, and thank you, Ram, for supporting me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.